Good evening. I would like to call to order the March 27th, 2017 Bellbrook City Council meeting. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Edwards?
Here.
Mr. Greenwood?
Here.
Mr. McGill?
Here.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Here.
Mrs. Seeger-Lawson?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schweller?
Here.
Mayor Baird?
Here. Formal approval of the City Council work session and regular meeting minutes of February 27th, 2017. Does any member on council have any corrections or additions to the regular City Council meeting minutes of our last meeting? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as written. Mayor's announcements and special guests. We have a few things tonight. First, we're going to start with the oath of office for Mrs. McGill, who is going to be on our Old Village Review Board. So thank you very much for volunteering. We greatly appreciate it. Her term will expire 1/31/19. Mrs. McGill, would you please come up? And we will. Please raise your right hand. I, Carol A. McGill,
I, Karen A. McGill,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and will obey
and will obey
the laws thereof,
the laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
uphold and enforce
uphold and enforce
the provisions
the provisions
of the Charter
of the Charter
and the ordinances
and the ordinances
of Bellbrook,
of Bellbrook,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of
the duties of
the office upon
the office upon
which I'm about to enter.
which I'm about to enter.
Nice job. Thank you very much.
I'll do my best.
I just need a signature. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe that Mrs. Milster fills all of our committees.
Fills all of our boards.
And we have a lot of boards and a lot of board members, so thank you very much. It's one of those, we sometimes have difficulty in getting someone to fill the position because some of the requirements of the board are a little different from the other ones. Some people have to own a business in the city. I can't remember all the other requirements.
There's certain ones, so many have to live in the old village, and then everyone has to live in the city.
Well, thank you very much. Next, Sugar Maple Festival Committee. We have Tasha Shoup. Ms. Shoup, would you come up and give us an update on the Sugar Maple Festival?
Hi, thanks for having me here today. I'll go ahead and pass this year's sign around. Look at it. I'll just do a rundown of this year's festival, and if you have any questions, hopefully I can answer them. So our theme this year is superheroes. Batman is our grand marshal. We also have a Batmobile going through the parade and lots of superheroes. People who do it for a nonprofit organization for kids who are sick. We're donating to them, and they're going to come to the festival this year and pose with the kids. Let's see here. So our parade will start earlier on Saturday, again at 10:30. So all the festivities will be finished in the park by the time we start beer sales at 5 o'clock. We'll go from 5 to 10 on Friday and 5 to 10 on Saturday. We have Spongeworthy playing Friday and Wasted Potential playing on Saturday. We raised the beer price this year. That was one of the odd things we heard last year. I can't believe you're charging $5 for craft beer. It's going to be $7 this year. So we'll play with that. It's something that we can adjust next year. But you also, when you buy a beer stein, the beer stein will be $30 again this year. We have ordered 200 of them. You'll get a beer. We'll have people IDing. There will be we will have hired security guards this year in formal security clothing, 3 to 4 of them during the time of the liquor sales, and the police will be there as well. Let's see. So the last time I spoke, I told you we raised about 14,000. I wanted to tell you that we gave BCI a check for $4,000. We gave the high school a check for $500. We gave the middle school money $1,500. The police $250, and I also took them donuts. And we also were able to donate to the Family Resource Center. The reason why the donations aren't all the same amount, it was the needs were brought to us. It was for the high school wanted money for STEM. The middle school, it was for Challenge Day and Camp Kern. A couple of the computers at BCI quit working when the school year started, so that replaced 2 of the 3 that broke. Did anyone have any questions for me? Anything I'm missing?
Friday night?
Friday night, it starts at 5. The food booths will probably stay open this year and will be done at 10. Spongeworthy will be playing.
Okay. Yep. I'm sorry. Is there a dog show this year?
The dog show will also be going on at the same time, the same location as always.
All right. Council, do we have any questions?
Clarify on the booths at the park. They're closing down at 5 on Saturday?
Yes, they will be done. All the music, everything will be done and closed up at 5 o'clock. Yes, and the shuttle stops at 5 as well. We won't be taking. We will not be
Okay, I'll
driving
have
anyone
to, because
and
we
from.
have, the garden club has a different schedule for that.
Is that
so
Sunday
I will
or Saturday?
have to,
That is Saturday.
Saturday.
Okay, the garden club does. Okay.
yeah, they were planning, I think, staying open till 6.
Okay, I'll make sure.
I'll
an email
double
gets
check
out.
with them on that.
Okay, that was one of the reasons why we kept the. Oh, you're right. Last year we started the beer sales at 6 o'clock. So
Yeah.
you're right. That's something that'll have
So
to be
they're
changed.
using the same
Yeah.
schedule, so, okay.
Okay, I'll get on that. Is there anything else?
I heard that there might be a cornhole tournament. Is that
Yep, that'll be
Okay.
something to raise money. Was it for the
Football?
football team? It'll be. Do you know where the cave box is? It's beside of the park, not quite in the park, for the Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts box,
It'll
yeah.
be over there in that area.
okay?
We couldn't allow them in the park because when you let a sports team in the park, you have to let all of them in the park, and then the next thing you know, it's soccer, football, track, everything.
Okay.
Any other questions? I got the permit in the mail, and I'll run that by your office.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tasha. Next on Mayor's announcements, we would like to recognize the Bellbrook High School boys swim team. They had an excellent year. I'm going to read a proclamation, and then Coach Johnson, I'm going to ask him to get up and tell a little bit more about the details of the season. So all I can say is congratulations. What a great year. What a couple great personal records that were done. And I'm sure Coach Johnson will talk a little more about that. Proclamation. Whereas Mayor and City Council of the City of Bellbrook desire to recognize occasions of outstanding achievement and significance. And whereas the Bellbrook High School boys swim and dive team have achieved significant accomplishments during the 2016-2017 sports season. And whereas the Mayor and City Council congratulate the Bellbrook High School boys swim and dive team for the following accomplishments: setting several state records, school or pool records, finishing 4th out of 60-plus teams, the team's best ever finish. Now therefore, I, Mayor Robert L. Baird, on behalf of the City Council and the Bellbrook Sugar Creek community, congratulate the Bellbrook High School boys swim and dive team for their outstanding 2016-2017 sports season. So congratulations, Coach Johnson. Would you like to come up and just maybe touch on a couple of the highlights? I know there were a lot.
Well, as you mentioned, it was by far the best season we ever had. I'll introduce the guys that are with us. We have Justin Borman, who is our diver. He was seeded 23rd, advanced up to 19th.
Yeah, have him come up here so you
Come on
can
up,
be
Justin.
live on camera.
Missing tonight is Henry Wong. He was a member of 2 of our relays that placed 2nd and 3rd at state. We have Cole Huggard, who was also a member of those 2 relays and also finished 13th in the 200 IM. We have John Sampson, who is one of our 2 state champions. He finished 7th in the 100 free and then also won the 100 backstroke. And then we have Cody Bybee, who Multiple things here. He was a state champion in the 200 freestyle and set a state record and broke a 26-year-old pool record. It was previously held by a former Olympian.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
And then he also won the 100 butterfly, setting a state and pool record in that as well. And then the four boys, Henry, who's not with us tonight, they also placed third in the 400 freestyle relay, and Cody set a state record in that, and also won swimmer of the meet because of all of his fast times. So it was, this was my 14th year of coaching, and never did I expect that we would be where we are, but we're going to be missing two boys next year. Justin will be graduating this year, as will Henry Wong, but these three guys will be back next year, and now it's time to find people to replace them. The guys are graduating, so.
Does anyone have any questions for the coach or the kids?
Sounds outstanding, very impressive.
Impressive.
Great job.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations, guys. That was a really unbelievable performance, and it'll be interesting to see how you do next year. I'm sure you guys will do great. So thank you all for coming out, too.
Thank you.
On a Monday night. That is all I have for mayor's announcements this evening. Public hearings of ordinances. We have 3 this evening. We'll start with ordinance number 2017. And guys, feel free to leave if you want, so I don't feel like forgetting this day. Yeah. So ordinance number 2017-1, Mrs. Middlestetter.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance adopting and enacting a new code for the city of Bellbrook, providing for the adoption and publication of new matter in the updated and revised codified ordinances, and repealing ordinances and resolutions in conflict therewith. Whereas the Municipal Code Corporation has completed its initial updating and revision of the codified ordinances of the city, and whereas various ordinances of a general and permanent nature have been passed by council since the date of the last updating and revision of the codified ordinances, November 25th, 2013, and have been included in the codified ordinances of the city. Now therefore, the city of Bellbrook hereby ordains, Section 1, that the Code of Ordinances for the city of Bellbrook, published by the Municipal Code Corporation, consisting of parts 1 through 14, each inclusive, is adopted. Section 2, that all ordinances of a general and permanent nature enacted on or before July 9, 2016, and not included in the code or recognized and continued in force by reference therein, are repealed. Section 3, additions or amendments to the code when passed in such form as to indicate the intention of the city of Bellbrook to make the same part of the code shall be deemed to be incorporated in the code, so that reference to the code includes the additions and amendments. Section 4, ordinances adopted after July 9, 2016 that amend or refer to ordinances that have been codified in the code shall be construed as if they amend or refer to like provisions of the code. Section 5, this ordinance shall take effect May 1, 2017.
Yes, periodically the charter requires that the city codify any ordinances that have been passed. As this ordinance notes, the last time it was done were for ordinances through November 25th, 2013. So last year we started the process with a new company called Municode to do this process. Part of the reason we switched, it's what I have on the screen, is the presence that it has on the internet now, or will have once it's been adopted and in place. It makes it much easier to find things within the code, to search for things. Previously, we just had a PDF version. You could search on it, but it wasn't very interactive, wasn't this? This is much easier to go in, find what you're looking for. You can search for something here if you want, if anything you want to do. It's very intuitive how you find things. And then the other thing that we'll be able to do is keep it up to date more in real time. So as ordinances are passed, we can submit them to them. They'll update the website. Our actual code books won't get updated except for once or twice a year, but the online will be always current. so that if you have a question about what the current code is, it's going to be available online here. So we've been very happy with MuniCode and the service they provided. And once this is in place, we'll bring back all the 3-inch binders that everyone has, bring those back, and the reality is going to the website. This will be a link from our current website. You'll be able to get to this at any time you need it.
Great.
We'll give one to the museum.
Yeah, we'll give it. Yes. But even like the police officers, they all have the MDTs in the car. They'll be able to access this through their MDTs if they need to look up a section of code, anything like that.
Any questions on council? This is a public hearing, so if anyone has any input from our audience, this is the time you can get up and speak. Seeing none, I call this public hearing closed. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 2017-1?
I so move.
May I have a second?
A second.
Roll call.
Motion by Mrs. Middlestetter to adopt ordinance 2017-1, an ordinance adopting and enacting a new code for the city of Bellbrook, providing for the adoption and publication of new matter in the updated and revised codified ordinances and repealing ordinances and resolutions in conflict therewith. Seconded by Mrs. Seeger Lawson. Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Moving on, ordinance number 2017-2. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 2017-2, an ordinance amending Part 4 Traffic Code of the Bellbrook Municipal Code. Whereas the city of Bellbrook periodically reviews its policies and procedures, and whereas the city has determined that sections of the traffic code contain incorrect or outdated references to other code sections, and whereas the city desires to correct these incorrect, outdated references, now therefore the city of Bellbrook hereby ordains, Section 1, the following amendments to Chapter 408 penalties of the Bellbrook Municipal Code be approved with deletions shown by brackets and strike-throughs and additions shown by italics and underlined. Section 408.01, penalties for misdemeanor. Whoever is convicted or pleads guilty to a misdemeanor or minor misdemeanor shall be sentenced in accordance with, and Section 698.02 is deleted and replaced with ORC Chapter 2929. Section 2, that the following amendments to Chapter 440 Commercial and Heavy Vehicles of the Bellbrook Municipal Code be approved with deletions shown by brackets and strike-throughs and additions shown by italics and underline. Section 440.01, load limits. B, special permits. The chief of police may, upon application in writing and for good cause shown, issue a special permit in writing authorizing the applicant to operate or move a vehicle or combination of vehicles of a size or weight of vehicle or load exceeding the maximum specified, and in this section is deleted, Section B hereof in Section 440.02, or otherwise in conformity with Chapter 438. That is replaced by ORC 5577.05. Upon any street or other public place, any such permit may be issued for a single or round trip, or in special instances for a certain period of time. The chief may issue or withhold a permit, or if a permit is issued, may limit or prescribe conditions of the operation for a vehicle and require a bond or other security necessary to compensate for any damage to a roadway or road structure. Every such permit shall be carried in the vehicle or combination of vehicles to which it refers, and shall be open to inspection by any police officer or other lawful authority. No person shall violate any of the terms of a permit. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be in force from and after the earliest period provided by law.
Yes, during the recodification process that was just passed by council, there were some incorrect and outdated references. Last year, we made some significant deletions from the traffic code and the general offenses code, and we are now relying almost exclusively on the Ohio Revised Code for those citations. But there are a few things that were left, and they were referencing code sections that didn't exist anymore. So this This ordinance will correct that for the traffic code section of that and make those references valid again and make sense.
Any questions for our city manager? And then essentially, just so people know, we're not really changing everything, we're just putting everything in line with Ohio Revised Code and clearing up.
Which is what we've been using the Ohio Revised Code. We used to have it duplicated in our
Correct.
code, and now we've eliminated that duplication because every time they change, then we'd have to go back and change if we wanted to. We always relied on the Ohio Revised Code anyway, so we are just, we eliminated it from our local municipal code.
Correct. No questions, this is a public hearing. If there's any questions or input. Seeing none, I call this public hearing closed. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 2017-2?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2017-2.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Mr. Edwards to adopt ordinance number 2017-2, an ordinance amending Part 4 Traffic Code of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, seconded by Mr. McGill. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Moving on, one more ordinance this evening, ordinance number 2017-3. Mr. Schweller.
Yes, Mayor, ordinance 2017-3, an ordinance amending Part 6, general offenses of the code of the Bellbrook Municipal Code. Whereas the city of Bellbrook periodically reviews its policies and procedures, whereas the city has determined that sections of the general offenses code contain incorrect and outdated references to other code sections, whereas the city desires to correct these incorrect, outdated references, now therefore the city of Bellbrook hereby ordains, Section 1, that the following amendments to Chapter 618 Animals of the Bellbrook Municipal Code be approved with deletion shown by brackets and strike-throughs, in addition shown by italics and underlined. Section 618.13, nuisance condition prohibited. Subsection D, any violation of ORC Chapter 955, this is previously Section 618.01, within 6 months of a previous violation, so thereof, shall be a prima facie violation of this section. Paragraph E, the municipal attorney may proceed by civil action in any court of record to obtain an abatement order under this section. In paragraph F, whoever violates any of the provisions of this section is guilty of maintaining a public nuisance, a misdemeanor of the 4th degree. The penalty should be as provided in ORC Chapter 2929. This is previously Section 698.02. In addition to imposing the appropriate punishment, the court shall order such nuisance to be abated. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period provided by law.
This is the same explanation, just the general offense code section, so we're correcting some of those outdated references to things and now referring back to the Ohio Revised Code where appropriate.
Any questions on council? Once again, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience who would like to get up and comment or have a question. Seeing none, I call this public hearing closed. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 2017-3?
Mayor, I'd like to move for the adoption of ordinance 2017-3.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Mr. Schweller to adopt ordinance number 2017-3, an ordinance amending Part 6 General Offenses Code of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, seconded by Mr. Greenwood. Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Moving on, we have no introduction of ordinances, we have no resolutions, but we do have a city manager's report.
Yes, we do. I've got a few items here this evening. The first one is, and actually I'm going to pull up the website. Our website has a lot of information on it, and a couple of the items I'm going to talk about are also on our website. So anyone who hasn't visited our website in the past 6 months or so, maybe even a year, we have made significant changes. And up here in this area, we highlight some of the more significant ones. So obviously the Sugar Maple Festival that Ms. Shoup talked about earlier, CPR classes, but the walkable community is the first one that I wanted to talk about. This is a workshop that's going to be happening here on April 12th, where it's going to be start at 11:30 in the morning. Start right here. We're going to have a brief presentation by a couple different speakers, and then we're going to probably break up into groups and then actually go walk the downtown area. At this point, we've had about 35 people RSVP for that, so that's a good number. Depending on how many actually show up will be how we split up the groups and how we walk the downtown area. But if anyone is interested, this information is on our website here, and they can reply to Greene County Regional Planning with their RSVP if they want to attend. So encourage everyone to do that. On that note, there was an article in the Dayton Daily News yesterday that spoke to the comprehensive plan update. If you read that, and of course no one reads it quite as closely as the person who's quoted in it, but the reporter called and left me a voicemail late last week. I didn't get a chance to call him back. He ended up quoting me completely out of context and incorrectly. He went back to our February meeting, listened to the tape, but was completely wrong. If you read the article, it talks about growth and expansion is the focus of this comprehensive plan. Well, obviously that's not the case. In the February meeting, I talked about that as it referred to the 1974 plan, not the current plan. So if you read it, it talks about that the focus is growth and expansion, and the next line talks about being landlocked. Well, the two don't really go together, and if you had any sense of what you were talking about, it doesn't make sense. So I contacted him, but it was an honest mistake is what he said, but it would have been nice if he'd just given me the opportunity to talk to him. So anyway, just so if anyone questions that, growth and expansion really, given our current situation, isn't what we're doing. Annexation is always on the table, but given the current boundaries we have, there's not a whole lot of opportunities out there for us to pursue annexation. So the comprehensive plan is about more than that. It's about planning for the future, whether it's the downtown area, whether it's the western commercial end, things like that. That's what that process is going to be about. And this walkable community is really the first step in that. No pun intended, but that's the first step in that, and then they'll really get into the development of that plan going forward. So just wanted to clarify that. Also on the website, which I think I just lost here, but is the general fund levy information. As people know, we have a general fund renewal levy on the ballot on May 2nd. That renewal levy it will not have any tax increase to it at all. It's just a renewal of the existing levy, but it's very vital to the functions of the city. It raises over $200,000 a year. The information is on the city's website. It's in the newsletter that was just probably received by most of the residents here over the weekend. There will be a separate postcard mailed out with that information about that levy here probably in mid-April. So we just encourage everyone to get out and vote. It is the only item on the ballot. They didn't even assign it a ballot number or an issue number because it's the only one on there. But we just want to make sure people get out and vote, and this is their opportunity to voice their opinion about property taxes in the city of Bellbrook. Next up, lead and copper mapping. The EPA and the state legislature made some changes in September of last year requiring additional information to be prepared and made available to the EPA. Unfortunately, they passed it in September. They didn't really come up with the final rules until January, February, so we had about a month to compile the information that they were looking for. But the Service Department did an excellent job of pulling together a map. This is just a snapshot of the map, but the text to it, and we'll have this posted on our website here, really what it's talking about is the lead and the possibility of having lead in the water system. As it stands now, the city is not aware of any lead, either water mains or service lines in our Bellbrook water system. They just don't exist. We've never come across them. However, this area that's shaded in yellow are homes that were built prior to 1988. In the mid-'80s, they changed the allowable content of lead in solder and things like that. So anything that was built prior to that, there's at least some chance that they will have lead in some of the fixtures, things like that. And then it's a little hard to tell. The areas in green are the homes that were built after 2014. So at that point, the lead restriction went from, I think, 0.8% to 0.2%. So there's virtually no chance of having lead in those homes. The rest of these homes that were built after 88 but before 2014, they're sort of in that, there's less chance of there being lead, but it's not like it is post-2014. So this is a good map, and it's hard to tell in this detail, but if you have it blown up, you can see virtually where every tap to the water system is. The city is responsible for up to that, to the curb stop. And then the homeowner is responsible from the curb stop to the house for the water lines. So if there are lead service lines, they're not the city's responsibility. But if we ever came across them, we would certainly let the property owner know what's going on. This also, again, it's hard to tell with this level of detail, but if you get in, you can see the type of water main. Most of our water main, it's a combination, either ductile iron, which is what we do with any new project, but like particularly in the downtown area, there's transite water main, which is a little bit more temperamental, and that's where we'll see a lot of our breaks at times, things of that nature. So this is a requirement that we had to submit to the EPA as of March 9th, so we did get that submitted, and we are in compliance with what they have. But given the instances in Flint and other places of lead in the water, I think this is just the beginning of more requirements that are going to be placed on us in the next coming years. Another item to talk about, I had sent out some information to council about street banners. And as of today, we've taken down the snowflakes. I don't know if that's what kept the snow away or what that was. That was the only snow we got this year, but we'll use them again next year. So, but anyway, we have some ideas to put up banners here for the spring and summertime. This was actually, that's the second. The first time they came back, these were the two proposals. They both have the pros. It's hard to see on here, but this actually has the leaf design within that navy blue section. This one probably uses a better use of the space, but it's going up and down, which is a little different too. So there's those options. Then they came back with something trying to make this a better use, and they came up with the gold across the top there. So we're trying to get these ordered and in place if we can get them up before Sugar Maple Festival to have them back on the poles. But I didn't know what council's thoughts were, or we were trying to incorporate the new logo and the design of that. There's all kinds of other, you can have anything you want on there, but this was trying to incorporate that logo. So I guess really the choices are either these two, or if you wanted to go of a more vertical way on those poles.
Any input? Nick, start.
I like the horizontal. Sorry.
Okay.
We can mix them up too, I guess. We can do anything. It's just
Forrest?
I like the other slide you had,
Yeah, that one.
that one.
Oh, you're gonna make it
That's
really
not
tough.
I'm partial to the vertical. Better use of space.
Yep. Same here, vertical.
So how many votes?
The name is
for-
bigger too.
we're we're 2 and 2.
I
Yeah,
like
that's
the-
it.
I
Yeah.
like the other one, I'm sorry.
Which one do you like?
The one with the.
This one.
Yeah, that one.
3-2.
I'll go with vertical one. We keep the tie going. I think it fills the space out better as long as I pick that one. I don't know.
Mayor breaks a tie.
The mayor
I don't
breaks
really
the
feel
tie.
strongly about it.
There's not a right answer.
No, there's not. Again, we're just trying to
Yeah.
incorporate
Well,
the
I
new
mean,
logo.
if I
and-
just without looking at it, let's,
Put
if
the
anyone
grass.
has any further input, we'll give it. Right now, I would go with the vertical, even though, just because it probably is a better space. I just can't see what's above the Bellbrook. It's just, it seems like a lot of open space to me on the other one.
There's a leaf there, right?
There's a faint
Well-
leaf, but it's not going to show up very
Yeah,
well from
well.
the street.
yeah,
If I saw the fake leaf, maybe I'd be different.
yeah. I mean, it's yeah. We've used it. It's what's on the business cards and things like
Oh.
that. It's on the back of the business cards, and you can see it in there too. It's on the back there.
It's very faint.
It's very faint. It's
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So okay. So the majority is
The majority.
the vertical.
Vertical.
Okay. Okay. Well, we will get those ordered. Hopefully that they can.
I should have went first on that one.
Yeah,
I'll get perpetual
Hey, you
grief.
asked me.
Everyone's gonna say, why'd you do vertical?
Yeah. Another item that I mentioned to you in our packet is Senate Bill 331 was passed by the state legislature in their lame duck session at the 11th hour in December. This bill, ironically, started as a pet shop regulation bill, and then they added some bestiality things, and they threw on the fact that local municipalities couldn't pass their own minimum wage because Cleveland wanted to do that. And last but not least, they threw in this regulation of small cell facilities, which I never knew what they were before, but what they are really just small. They can be up to the size of a small refrigerator that they put on a pole in the public right of way, and instead of having the big cell towers, it's just a distribution system. It can only serve a small area, but it's a way to make the network better for these mobile carriers, which I think we're all in favor of that. Unfortunately, what the bill did is said they can put them anywhere in the public right of way, and the cities cannot have any say pretty much on anything. So they can come in, actually this bill took effect last week, they could put a 50-foot tower right in front of this building and put one of these small cell facilities right on there. No questions asked. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't say it's our downtown district. We can't say that it's in front of our admin building. We can't say that it's, they could put one in front of the museum if they wanted to. So they can do anything they want. So we have joined with 50 other communities in the Dayton and Columbus area and filed a lawsuit. The primary focus of lawsuit, at least lawsuit we filed, is saying that it violates the Constitution single subject, which I think is pretty clear, that if you have pet shop regulations and minimum wage and small cell facilities, that it violates that. All that really does is take it, maybe makes it not effective, and then they'll come back. They will pass regulations. So I think the key to this is, long-term, is having some local control, because that's really the other thing. What it really, the reason that it is a problem is it takes away our home rule authority. We cannot control, and no one wants to say absolutely you can't come there, but you want to have some control over the size, the look. They put these things, they can disguise them, they can do all kinds of things. There's nothing that requires them to co-locate, so they could have, they don't have to use the poles that exist. They can use something else. If they use the poles that exist, of course, then they have to go to DP&L or AT&T or whoever owns those poles and negotiate with them. That's why they don't want to do that. I'm sure it's far cheaper to put their own pole up with their own facilities and not have to deal with it. So the group we've joined with has filed a lawsuit. There are the cities of Toledo and Cleveland and Cincinnati have filed separate lawsuits on varying different things. They're looking to get temporary injunctions and restraining orders, things of that nature. So the city has committed up to $2,000 in those legal fees with those other 50 cities, trying to get this at least stopped for now. We have not been approached by any of the mobile carriers here in Bellbrook, but I know Kettering, Fairborn, a lot of the other communities, so it's just a matter of time until it comes here and somebody's going to give us an application and we're going to have to deal with it. So just to give you an update, and as things change, I know Ms. Seeger-Lawson said there's a PUCO hearing on something related to this here this week. So there's a lot of different things going on with this. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
So Mark, have we talked to Rick Prowlis about this, or?
We have not specifically. One of the more, I'll say, troubling things is the Ohio Municipal League. This was introduced, and it had some really bad provisions. The Ohio Municipal League tried to negotiate, and they got it down to just really bad provisions. So they stood neutral on this, which doesn't make any sense to me. So the legislators didn't know that we were opposed to it because our legislative body or our lobbyists were neutral. So now all these cities are having to spend the money. So we haven't gone back to the individual, because at this point we're trying to stop this, and then if there's new legislation, then yes, we will certainly be in touch with our local legislators. It's sort of out of their hands at this point until the courts rule on it.
So does this apply to residential neighborhoods too?
Anywhere in the public
So a neighborhood that
right
has
away.
no poles because all of their utilities are underground,
That is
they could
correct.
put up a 50-foot pole in front of your house.
in front of your house,
Yes.
if they so desired, yes.
Yeah.
And we can say nothing about it.
The last time there was a big controversy on something like this from the utility perspective was AT&T putting in all of their systems. All the cities at that time, Kettering, then started passing ordinances, and with the I'm not sure what they're called. But
Yeah, they used to be the VRAD boxes, the
VRADs.
boxes, but a lot of those were on private property.
They're on private property, but they were in platted utility easements where the platted utility easement gave them the right, so they built this monstrosity right next to someone's house. So that was another big issue. This is public road right away, which normally within certain guidelines of the Ohio Revised Code, we're allowed to manage.
Yes.
Hmm.
But this bill pretty much takes away all of those powers for us,
So
so.
they don't have to go by any right-of-ways like the poles for telephone and power?
No.
They don't have, I mean, I would think that would be feasible if you use same right-of-way that way. I mean,
You would think, but like I said, this was,
they're not
The-
grass is put in
the-
front of your driveway, are they?
the really, really bad thing said that they could put it on any municipal facility. So the communities that had electric, their own electric, they could have just put it on there with no questions asked. They could have put it on their poles with no question asked. Or the way the original bill was, they could have put it on our water towers. They could have put it on this building, and there was no thing. So they got that removed, but they still left the right-of-way portion of it in place, which is.
And I think it's a little similar to what the townships deal now with towers, because townships have essentially no authority to stop the big cell towers within a township.
And then that's one of the reasons that the home rule argument is that since this doesn't apply to townships, it only applies to municipalities, is that that's a constitutional violation of the home rule because it has to be something statewide, and it's not. It only applies to municipalities, So we'll stay tuned, but we are involved in that, and I'll let you know as we.
Was this passed at like 3 AM in that session?
It
finally?
was.
Yeah.
It was truly.
One of the last one that no one
One of the
paid
last,
attention
one of the
to.
last bills that they just sort of threw together and threw everything
it
at
was
the
very
Christmas
last
tree
minute.
bills that had everything under the sun under it, so.
Because there's lots of wrong.
Yes, it did get lots of ornaments. Last thing I had, Sugar Creek Township trustees have asked for a meeting of all the community officials. They've inquired with the city, the schools, and the park district. They'd like to get together on April 17th, which is not a meeting night for us, at 5:30 at their building. I told them that I would see if we had enough people that would be able to attend that, and if so, I imagine Mr. Sweller's probably got a few other things to do on April 17th, but.
I'm sure he won't be there.
Yeah, yeah.
I can be there.
Okay,
And
so
anyone
I'll let
else
them
who
know
wants
that,
to go.
and we'll get notices out to everyone, but as long as I got people.
Yeah.
There was I don't think there was any specific topic. I think they just felt it would be good to get, the last time we did it, I think it was just the city and the township, but they have also invited the schools and the park district too. So I think
Okay.
that'll be good to get everyone together. I will let them know. That is all I have this evening.
Anyone on council have any questions for our city manager this evening?
Is the newspaper gonna make a change, correction?
No.
Yeah, I didn't even bother to ask because they print those in a whole different section and no one reads them anyway, so I didn't hear from anybody on it. I don't think it's a big deal. It's just, it's unfortunate when they print something that
Right,
Yeah.
is not correct.
right.
And there's nothing, once it's out there, it's there and there's not much you can do
Well,
to,
especially quoting you when you
Yes.
didn't make the quote.
yes. It's
Well,
less
quoting
praise.
wrong in a
Oh.
public
Yeah.
meeting, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was a little surprised yesterday, to say the least, so.
Mark, what's the status of our salt system now, or salt supplies, I guess?
We have a lot of salt.
I was
and-
wondering.
We took another delivery, didn't we, not too long?
We are going to have to take another delivery. So the contract that we have with ODOT requires us to take 90% of our 500 tons. So we have 450 tons that will be delivered. And actually, when we meet with the township, we might want to thank them because they have offered that we can store it on their facility.
Good.
They have a far more capability of doing that. So when we get those deliveries, more than likely that's where it's going to go, or at least the bulk of it is going to go there. And then we will be set for a while with salt. We'll end up having probably then, between the two facilities, probably close to 1,100 tons of salt, which is,
Way over our full average of whatever,
Yes.
800-900.
yeah, what we normally have. But obviously, we probably only used a couple hundred this year and haven't used any since probably December, I don't think. So not very much at least. So
Okay.
Good questions.
the price was reasonable at least this year.
It made
was-
sense,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's fine. It's not going to break the budget, but next year when we approach the ordering of it, we'll probably look to a vendor that we don't have to take delivery if we don't need it.
Okay, thanks.
Mark, I just had a question about the museum. We went through a little meeting we had several weeks ago, and some of the issues brought up, some of the leaks and stuff. Are we doing anything to address that or try to help them get some of those situations solved?
Yes, Yes, the service department has since met with Mr. Bartlett at the museum. They've gone over some of those. They've tried to prioritize the ones obviously that need to be done because it's a leak or it's something like that, and then also I assign it based on things that we have the capability of doing, or we might have to hire an outside contractor. So some of the door issues and things like that, we're probably going to have to bring somebody else in that has the proper skill set to take care of those. But they have begun to do things. I know they've been underneath, putting supports under the floor because they found some rotted piers under there, things of that nature. So yes, we've been working with them, trying to get those resolved as time permits.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for our city manager? Seeing none, we'll move on to committee report, safety, or service.
Yeah, Dale Wilson sent me a report a couple weeks ago, so I apologize that I didn't bring it today. But I have a few things that I've highlighted that I was just going to read. Water system operation maintenance. Over 7,500 water system service requests have been generated. These requests include water meter pit inspections and installations of new construction, final readings, water quality inquiries, meter replacements, turn off water, and on for residential plumbing repairs. We've had over 1,500 OOPS requests for water line locations that have been received. We've performed fire hydrant flushing and inspections on all 610 of our hydrants in October. We have repaired 11 water main breaks and several service lines. We have taken 140 bacteriological, sorry, I can't say that very well, samples throughout the year on the water system. We also provide various Ohio EPA required samples such as lead, copper, disinfection byproducts, nitrates, VOCs, COCs, and inorganics. All of these sample results can be found in the annual Consumer Confidence Report, and the report is in the Summer City newsletter and on the Bellbrook website. They have completed painting of the 400,000 gallon water tower near the high school, and all the tanks and towers will only require regular scheduled maintenance for the next few years. On property maintenance, they rebuilt the paver sidewalk at the library. They've listed several other things, but these are just some of the highlights that I focused on. Assisted the fire department in improving and retaining the wall at the fire station. For street maintenance, the streets that have been paved in 2016 were Sugar Run Trail, Amy Brook, Shadow Leaf, Sugarwood Circle, and portions of North Linda, North Sheffield, and East Sudbury. They revitalized the crack sealant operations. All bikeways have been crack sealed, and they began on neighborhood streets. They finished the mandated traffic control sign upgrade program, and all traffic control signs now have the newest reflectivity, referred to as prismatic. They used 176 tons of salt, and we talked about that just a few minutes ago, so 176 instead of 8 to 900 tons of salt during 8 winter weather events. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Safety.
Oh,
Hey.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Forrest.
The only thing I have is the police department. If you read your newsletter, they're going to start their neighborhood walks, and the schedule's in the newsletter. And they walk and they'll talk to you. And it's a good time to just meet and greet them. Tell them if they're good or bad, whatever. So, what's that? Yes. Oh, yes, the body cameras are they're gonna start wearing those. So we'll report on what happens with that. There's a lot of training involved in that. And if you read the newspapers and stuff, that's kind of an ongoing thing with, that all your police departments and the body cameras, and, that's something that'll probably take a few years for everybody to get that ironed out. So, that's all I have.
And they have started wearing those, at least some of the officers, so not everyone has them assigned to them yet, but as they go through the training, there are several of them. So if you get the chance, I know the lieutenant has one. It's actually a pretty neat little system.
is.
It's a standalone unit. They've got a magnet. It magnets right to the center of their chest. It's not corded to anything, and then it's pretty.
It's got a
pretty,
center button.
Yeah. So if you see somebody and you want to get on camera. Just,
Well, they got to turn it on first.
yeah.
So,
For
they're
a
not
good-
on all
For
the
a good
time.
reason.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Mark, I heard like on the news and stuff that they're trying to figure out what parts of the tapes to keep versus throw away and things like that, and there's problems with storage and, you know, like, do our computer systems need to be upgraded for any
No,
of this stuff?
no, one of the reasons we went with the vendor we did is all of the storage is in the cloud for this, so we don't have any local storage issues with this. So the biggest concerns, in the police department, we weren't the first adopter of these by any stretch, but they reviewed a lot of these, but battery life was a big concern, storage, ease of use and things of that nature. So Taser, who everyone knows what a Taser is, but that company is the one that has gone into these body-worn cameras. So they have a track record as a company, a very reliable company. So storage is not an issue. They come back and then they upload it to the cloud and then it's out there. And then we have the ability to go in and retrieve those, edit in terms of, you know, for the period of time that you need it. If it needs to go to court, the court has the ability to come in and get the videos that they need to use and things of that nature. The public record standpoint is really an issue that over the next coming years will really be tested because the reality is it's a public record, no different than every piece of paper, every email, everything else that we do. So somebody can come in and ask for a video of anything, a traffic stop, domestic violence, things like that. We have a policy of things that we are going to redact, juveniles, domestic violence type things of that nature. If we're going in somebody's house, we're going to tell them, you know, do you want this? You know, we're recording this, and they have, within certain limitations, the ability to say, you know, I don't want this recorded. Obviously, if it's an incident or something like that, we're going to record it. So there's a lot of training, and then the public record side of things we'll be dealing with for years to come.
Okay.
But I think ultimately, it's a protection for both sides.
Right.
It's a protection for the officers because now what they're doing is documented. You can sort of see firsthand what they are exposed to, what they deal with on a daily basis. And then from a citizen standpoint, you know, there's a lot of incidents that have happened across this country. Now there's going to be a recording of it right here. So.
All right, moving on. Finance and audit.
Mayor, nothing to report this evening.
How's tax season?
That's right, busy.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Community affairs.
Nothing new other than just our wonderful Sugar Maple Festival coming up and lots of fun stuff going on. So be sure and check out the schedule.
Old business, I see none. New business, Ohio Division of Liquor Control notice of ownership change. It looks like it's the Marathon changing names.
Yes, these come to us on an
Yep.
occasional basis. Council has the ability to challenge this if they so desired. We always check with the chief of police. We've had no issues with this. There's no reason to challenge this. So there's no action that needs to be taken unless you wanted to challenge this or ask for a hearing on this liquor license.
And I'm guessing the same person's still running it. It's just
Yeah, I think it's
an
just
LLC,
It's an
an
LLC.
Inc. to an LLC, because I haven't heard anything that he was selling it,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, we
Oh,
haven't
they
heard
just
anything.
changed the name?
Well, it's from I'm sure he did it.
The ownership name. It was
Yeah,
still
it
the
was from an
Marathon,
Inc. to
so-
LLC,
Yep.
so
Oh,
I'm sure it's the same.
yeah, I thought it was a sale.
Could be, I don't know, but I doubt it.
The name was different, that's why.
Yep. So I don't have any issues, so we don't even need to take a vote, do we?
No, unless
Okay.
somebody wanted to.
Open discussion, anyone for open discussion?
Nothing there.
Forrest?
I'd just like to congratulate the Bellbrook swim team. When we have our athletes doing well like that, it brings great credit from them in Sugar Creek and the Bellbrook area. And the Bellbrook schools, they maintain that high standards, and we see this a lot, and I hope it continues. And the school system is kind of what brings Sugar Creek and Bellbrook together, and we just love to see things like that. So that's all I have.
Mr. McGill?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Makerspace, project of the Greene County Public Library. On the 3rd of March, I had the opportunity to spend the morning up there with several government officials and others on the library board to look at this new facility that they have. I passed along a little synopsis of what Makerspace is, and basically, it's an incubator for exploration into technology, so that your library is becoming more than just a periodical and literary site. They have 3D mapping, CNC mill in small formats that individuals can explore changes that they would like to make to technology and get involved with along the way. The library invested a significant amount of capital into the equipment over there. I think it's around about $150,000 issue. And since we have Winters Library here in the city, one of the goals of the organization over time would be to have one of these makerspace spaces put into each one of the library areas. And so if you get a chance to go up and take a look at that equipment and see how it works, it's well worth the trip and that to have that looked at.
Hey, thank you very much. Ms. Milstetter?
Nothing new.
Donna?
Just congratulations to this one team. That's an awesome accomplishment. Very proud of all of our local athletes.
Mr. Weller?
I've got nothing for this evening, Mayor.
I have nothing this evening. This is a time that if anyone would like to get up, you have 5 minutes. You do need to say your name and address. Going once? Going twice? Seeing none, does any member on council have any other business come before us at this meeting tonight? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.